Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into how great software gets built, and more importantly, how to avoid those massive project failures that can sink budgets, timelines, and even whole companies. We're talking about something called the Iterative Model, a really smart way to build complex things, piece by manageable piece. So I want you to picture this for a second. Imagine you're building a massive skyscraper, but there's a catch. You can't look at the full blueprint until after all the floors are already built. Sounds insane, right? Well, for a long time, that's kind of how we built complex software. It was this all-or-nothing gamble. And yeah, it was packed with a ton of risk. So this all-or-nothing problem, it actually has a name you might have heard of, the waterfall model. Let's dig into why this traditional way of doing things can be, well, so incredibly dangerous for a project. Okay, so this is the classic waterfall model. Just think of a real waterfall. The water flows down, one step at a time, and it never goes back up. In software, that means you gather every single requirement up front, then you create a giant master plan, then you build the entire thing, and only at the very end you get to test it. You have to finish each stage completely before you can even think about starting the next one. And you can probably see the huge glaring flaw here. You could spend months, maybe even years, building something, only to discover a massive, fundamental problem right at the finish line. Trying to fix a mistake in the foundation at that point, it's like trying to fix the foundation of that skyscraper we talked about after it's already built. It's wildly expensive, and sometimes the only option is to watch the whole project come crashing down. So what's the alternative? What if we could actually manage all that risk? Instead of building the whole skyscraper at once, what if you could build and test it one floor at a time? You'd make sure each piece is totally solid before moving on to the next. Well, that's the core idea behind a much better way of working. And that's where the iterative model comes in. It's a total game changer. Instead of trying to build the entire system in one massive push, you break the project down. You start with a simple core version of the product, and then you build on top of it in these repeated cycles, or what we call iterations. A great way to think about it is like creating a digital painting. An artist doesn't just perfect one tiny corner of the canvas before moving on. Nope, they start with a basic sketch to get the shapes right. That's your first iteration. Then, in the next iteration, they add in the main colors and some core details. And finally, they go back again for the shading, the texture, and all that final polish. Each cycle builds on the last, and the painting gets better and better each time. So, how does this actually work in practice? What does the process look like? Let's take a look at the engine that really drives the whole thing, the development loop. And this quote right here, it just nails it. The whole idea has two key parts. You develop in repeated cycles, that's the iterative part, and you do it in smaller portions at a time. That's the incremental part. So you repeat the process and you add a little more each time. Repeat and add. Simple as that. Every single iteration is basically its own little mini project, and it follows this exact same cycle. The team designs a new feature, they code it up, they test it to make sure it works, and then, and this is the most important part, they review it to get feedback. Once that loop is done, they just start it all over again for the next set of features. And right here, this is the magic of the model. After every single cycle, you have a real, tangible, working piece of software. This isn't just some plan on a whiteboard. It's a functioning product that people can actually click on, use, and give you feedback about. And that feedback is pure gold, because it tells you exactly what to do in the next iteration. Okay, so this sounds pretty great, right? But is it the perfect fit for every single project out there? The truth is, the iterative model isn't a silver bullet, but it absolutely shines in some very specific situations. So think about those really large, complex systems where the risks are just sky high. This model is perfect for that. It's also great for when you kind of know what you want to build, but you expect that you'll want to add new features and enhancements along the way. Or maybe your team is using a brand new technology and you need some room to learn as you go. It lets you tackle the scariest, most high-risk stuff first to make sure you get it right. But of course, no model is perfect. There are always trade-offs. So let's do a quick reality check and take an honest look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. The upsides? They're huge. You get a working product in your hands super early. That makes it way easier and cheaper to find bugs and to adapt if requirements change. But on the flip side, all of those cycles and feedback loops, they do require more management, which can honestly be overkill for really small projects. And since you're not planning every single detail at the start, making sure the overall system architecture stays clean can be a real challenge.
So, to boil it all down, the choice really comes down to this. The waterfall model is all about getting the plan perfect before you ever start building. The iterative model, on the other hand, is about starting with a really good plan, but then building, learning, and refining as you go.
So, what's the big takeaway here? At the end of the day, the iterative model takes the potential chaos of a massive project and breaks it down into a series of calm, manageable steps. It puts progress and real feedback ahead of trying to create a perfect plan up front. And by letting you fix mistakes early and often, it dramatically cuts down on risk and helps make sure that the final product is something people actually need and want to use.
Now, this model was a huge leap forward from those old, rigid, all-or-nothing methods. It really laid the groundwork for all the agile methodologies that are so popular in software development today. But that's a story for another explainer.